Chris, Lee and Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14 here, going over seeding possibilities for the SEC tournament. 1 day of games left to go, that being Saturday, and we know some things, a lot of things up in the air. We're going to unwind that all for you, tell you all the possibilities. Blake, I guess we'll start at the top where Alabama has clinched that one line, and we'll get the double bye. No surprise.
Alabama's the 1, Texas A&M's the 2. There you go. We're going to speed through this because there's no reason to spend a lot of time on stuff that's not scenario driven, which those two teams will play each other on Saturday. No change, no matter what happens. So, yes, those are the teams that are kind of set where they are right now. I'm going to share my screen, and that way you guys can see this as we go along. This is straight from the SEC in terms of what exactly you're looking at here. So you can see the bracket. And you can see kind of where some of the tiebreakers are at right now. So those are your top 2 seeds. Now, where things start to get interesting, of course, is from basically 3 to 10. There's a lot of wild possibilities from 3 to 10 right now. And, of course, Kentucky's the 3 right now because they and Tennessee have the same record of 11-6. So Kentucky swept Tennessee. They hold the two-way tiebreaker at the moment, which means what, Chris? That if Kentucky beats Arkansas on Saturday, Kentucky is 100% the number 3 seed in the tournament. So then, of course, that's where things get fun, right? When you look at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, all right, let's see if we get this right. As of right now, of course, Missouri would be the 5, Vanderbilt's the 6. Why? Because two-way tiebreaker. Missouri beat Vanderbilt head-to-head. That is your tiebreaker there. Auburn locked in at the 7. So take the 7 out of the picture for the moment. Auburn is the 7 seed at this very second. They have no tiebreaker or anything like that. 3-way tie between Mississippi State, Arkansas, and Florida for 8, basically. So 8, 9, 10. Of course, the difference there is your winning percentage. What is it called? Basically against you start at the top.
The group of teams. Yeah.
Right. So you start at the top. Whoever has the best win, basically, gets that. And who has the best win? That's Mississippi State because they beat Texas A&M. So that's why they would get the nod there. And I guess Arkansas beat them too, right? Is that right? Didn't that happen?
I'll look that up. You keep going.
Okay. So I'm trying to think of what the scenario. Okay. So, yeah. So what happened was it's the better winning percentage, right? Because Mississippi State only played Texas A&M
among the
once.
tied teams, yeah.
So they're 1-0 against A&M. Arkansas is 1-1 against A&M. So the win percentage goes in Mississippi State's favor because they only played them once, if that makes sense. They didn't lose to them, basically. There you go. So that's where things are at there. If you look at 11,
and that would
Georgia,
be for the 8, correct?
Yes, that's for the 8 seed. So that's a 3-way tie for the 8. We're just going to get through this first part quickly, and then we're going to look at what if this happens on Saturday, what if that happens, and we'll talk about that. Georgia's locked in at the 11. There's no change. So LSU's locked in right now in terms of the 14, but that can obviously change because there's a lot that can happen here depending on how games unfold on Saturday, which I've got to pull up the schedule on Saturday to remember who else playing who. We're going to do our predictions in a minute. So tiebreaker between South Carolina and Ole Miss is obviously South Carolina has the win over Kentucky. So that's the better win of the group there. Okay, so you can take a breath, exhale for now. That's where things sit at this very moment. And this is where we can start to play around with the what if scenarios. All right. So here's what we're going to do, Chris. You have the schedule for Saturday in front of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go game by game and see how that can affect the seeding, if that makes sense. So we're going to start with one game. Let's see what can happen there. How would that impact that team's seeding? And just run through it all like that.
Okay, I've got the games in order. Alabama A&M impacts nothing, so throw that one aside. Next in order, tip-off is Georgia, South Carolina, and that is in Carolina.
All right, so what happens there? It means that South Carolina, if they win, they will lock up the number 12 seed because they already have the tiebreaker against Ole Miss. But here's where things get fun, right? So if they do that, they would have the 2-way tiebreaker, right? But I think they'd also have no matter what, South Carolina has the best win of any of these teams, correct? Because South Carolina would have beaten Kentucky. Yeah, Ole Miss. But of course, that can change, right? Because what if Kentucky
Oh,
slides
but
down?
yeah. Yeah.
So there's kind of your what if scenario. I don't think a lot of people are invested in the South Carolina, are they the 12 seed or 13 scenario? So I think we can move beyond that. But keep in mind what South Carolina has going for it from a seeding standpoint. If you're just looking at the SEC tournament, these are your bottom 4 teams right here. But South Carolina has that win over Kentucky, and that looks a lot better than what is LSU's best win, Chris?
LSU
Vanderbilt?
has beaten Vanderbilt and Arkansas.
Oh, okay. So they beaten Arkansas. Yeah, that's right. They beat those two. Ole Miss's wins are against who? South Carolina and LSU and somebody else?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess we need to find out who the somebody else is.
Yeah. We've got a slight delay here,
Oh, there's a
folks.
shocker.
So, yeah, Ole Miss's wins are against LSU, Georgia, South Carolina.
All right. So Ole Miss is done when it comes to tiebreakers. They don't have much of a chance. So there's that one. On to the next.
Okay, so again, we've got Georgia locked in at the 11-12. That's the only one that's locked in for the purpose of Thursday night or Wednesday night, excuse me.
Okay, who's the next game though?
Oh, next game on the list would be Tennessee going to Auburn.
Aha. Now here's where things start to get fun. So this is where chaos starts to ensue. Okay, so Tennessee currently the 4 at the moment. Now, this is where again things can go in so many different directions here. Where to begin? All right, let's say Tennessee beats Auburn. What does that mean? Well, that means that Tennessee would then lock up the number 3 seed with a Kentucky loss, correct?
That should be correct.
That would be correct. If Tennessee loses to Auburn, well, hold on. If Tennessee beats Auburn, what happens for Auburn? Auburn would be 9-9, and then again, you're talking about perhaps pure chaos could unfold depending on what happens around them, and we'll have to get there in a minute because that's again looking at the possibility of Arkansas plays Kentucky. Who does Mississippi State play on Saturday? I know I should know this, but like that's right, Vanderbilt. So it says it right there on the screen.
That's okay.
Well, look, I'm going through scenarios, so all I'm thinking about is right here in this picture.
Yes, I get it.
All right, so they play Vanderbilt. Florida plays LSU. So if Auburn were to lose, that takes them to 9 losses. If Florida beats LSU, Arkansas beats Kentucky, Mississippi State beats Vanderbilt. All of a sudden,
but Auburn's locked into 7, correct?
Well, they are right now, right?
Oh, got you. Okay.
You see what I mean? Like they are at the moment because there's no tiebreaker. So, but if you get all those things that happen behind them, if Florida, Arkansas, and Mississippi State all win, which is possible, and Auburn loses, you've got 4 teams at 9-9. Then that's when things get crazy. Because then you go to the multiple way tiebreaker there. And I mean, where's the starting point for the 4-way tiebreaker?
I believe that would be head-to-head record among the teams tied usually.
So here's the 3-team tie straight from the SEC. Starts with best winning percentages of games played among the tied teams. So again, Team B could be 2-2, whatever, you know how it works from there. If you still have teams tied from there, you start at the top again with the number 1 seed, and then we get into coin flips. And guess what? We can't project coin flips. So I can't tell you what's going to happen.
You don't want to be in a coin flip with Vanderbilt. I know that much.
No, you don't want to do that. So, in all honesty, if Auburn wants to make this a little simpler, Auburn probably needs to beat Tennessee. Otherwise, you've got a bit of a chaotic situation there. So, for Tennessee, is the bigger situation for them. Win and a Kentucky loss, Tennessee's the 3. All right, let's move on to the next one because some of these are just going to be impossible when you get to 4-way ties and all that.
Okay, next game on the schedule would be Kentucky visiting Arkansas.
Oh, my gosh. All right, here we go again. So, Kentucky wins. They are officially the 3 seed. No doubt about it because they hold the tiebreaker over – they hold the tiebreaker over Tennessee. Doesn't matter what Tennessee does at that point. So, Kentucky beats Arkansas. They are your 3 seed in the SEC tournament. Now, if Arkansas loses, then Arkansas goes to 8-10, and once again, that's where I think let's play the projection that Florida is going to beat LSU. Okay, so Florida, we're going to move them up to 9-9. Let's say that's your projection. Arkansas would fall to 8-10. Mississippi State, let's say Mississippi State loses at Vanderbilt. All right, then you've got two teams that are at 8-10. What's the head-to-head with Arkansas and Mississippi State? Chris, I don't know if you know that off the top of your head, but I'm pretty sure that's going to go in favor of Mississippi State. So, because they beat them at Bud Walton.
Yes.
So then Arkansas would be the 10. So that's kind of
Wow.
I mean, really, though, I mean, that's honest. Like, that's where, again, we talked about that. If Arkansas finishes at 8-10 and Mississippi State, well, I guess at that point, right? No
Hold
matter
that
what,
thought for a minute.
Mississippi State.
Was Arkansas even as low as 10 in anybody's preseason poll
No,
nationally?
I mean, that's listen, that's what happens in the SEC,
This
but
league
that
is a
is
little
the
tougher than we
possibility.
think. Right.
Well, that's the possibility. So, yeah, in that scenario, if Arkansas falls to 8-10, and again, we're going to give Florida the win over LSU, but obviously that changes if not, because Arkansas would hold a two-way tiebreaker over Florida. I know all you guys, your head's spinning right now, but we said we were trying to be thorough here, and that's what we're going to do. So that's kind of your setup here for Arkansas is you're legitimately could be the number 10 seed with a loss, depending on what happens around you. You beat Kentucky. Now, let's say that happens. All right. Kentucky loses to Arkansas. Kentucky's at 11-7. I almost wish a lot of these teams were playing each other, but it almost sets up for pure chaos to where a lot of these teams are not playing each other. And you have to say, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? Kentucky loses to Arkansas. So that moves Arkansas up to 9-9. Once again, what happens with Florida LSU? What happens with Mississippi State Vanderbilt? What happens with Auburn Tennessee? Again, folks, you can see how complicated this is right now. But for Kentucky, what happens if they lose? They go to 11-7. Well, if Tennessee were to beat Auburn, Tennessee's the 3 seed. Kentucky would drop down to the 4. But what happens if Missouri beats Ole Miss and Vanderbilt beats Mississippi State? All right, let's play out the 3-way tie between Kentucky, Missouri, and Vanderbilt. You ready for that one, Chris? I know you're thrilled about this. So the 3-way tie between those teams is going to be Vanderbilt will have split with Kentucky. They will have lost at Missouri. So Vanderbilt's 1-2 in that scenario. Okay. Oh, Missouri will have beaten Vanderbilt and will have beaten Kentucky. So Missouri would be 2-0 in that scenario. Kentucky will have lost to Vanderbilt and lost to Missouri while also beating Vanderbilt. They're also 1-2. So guess what, Chris? We know what that means. Tennessee's the 3. Guess who's the 4? Missouri's the 4.
Right.
Then it
right,
comes
yeah.
down to Kentucky and Vanderbilt, which that's the point where we go to the top, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we'd go to the top, and
Neither of them beat Alabama. And
Kentucky beat A&M, right? Yeah. That's your difference.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Vanderbilt lost to A&M. So
Missouri's the 4, Kentucky's the 5, Vanderbilt will be the 6 in that scenario. Now, again, you still got Auburn to deal with, though. So, I mean, who knows, right? Auburn could be in that mix if they beat Tennessee, which is that the next game? Have we gotten to that game yet? I don't remember.
No, we did Tennessee Auburn. Next is Missouri and Ole Miss, which I think you just made a presumption on.
Well, all right, for Missouri fans, if they win, they beat Ole Miss. Once again,
then they're the 4 seed no matter what.
I believe in that. Well, no, because if Tennessee wins and Kentucky wins,
that's right, because they're a game behind.
Yeah, they're a game behind.
They're not.
So, yeah, they're 10-7. Kentucky and Tennessee are 11-6. So, if Kentucky and Tennessee both win, it's settled. Like your top 4 is clear with no headache. But if Kentucky and Tennessee both lose, Guess who holds the tiebreaker? And Missouri wins. That's Missouri.
Kentucky.
No, Missouri holds the tiebreaker.
Oh, I'm thinking Kentucky,
scenario.
Tennessee head-to-head.
Well, in a three-way tie, no,
If
three-way
you're not
tie,
confused by
Missouri.
now, you're not paying attention.
No, but look, this is what we're doing. I'm sorry, folks. I know this is confusing, but we're trying to give you everything we can on this. But some things we just cannot project without going so far in the rabbit hole. But here's the formula for Missouri. If they are in a three-way tie with Tennessee and Kentucky, Missouri has the tiebreaker. They would be ahead of them. So, again, Missouri beats Ole Miss. Kentucky loses at Arkansas. Tennessee loses at Auburn, which, by the way, I think that's a very likely scenario. I don't say it's going to happen, but like
it could happen.
The probability of that scenario happening is probably higher than some would think. Missouri is the 3 seed in the SEC tournament. So, because the tiebreaker between the three, Missouri will have beaten Tennessee. Missouri will have beaten Kentucky. They are unbeaten in that scenario. Meanwhile, the other two will have losses. So, yes, that's the scenario for Missouri. Win, root for a Kentucky and Tennessee loss. You're the number 3 seed in the SEC tournament. Now, you're ready for the doomsday scenario for Missouri. If they lose to Ole Miss, then that's where things get a little interesting.
Doomsday.
Because then Missouri drops to 10-8. And that is where the good news for Missouri is this. Doomsday, I was joking. Like, it's not. That's Missouri. I said this on Twitter to someone. Missouri is the ultimate tiebreaker team. Like, if you were looking for like the best shot at your tiebreakers, these were the teams you wanted around you if you're Missouri, because you hold all the tiebreakers pretty much with these teams. So, except Chris, for one team they don't hold the tiebreaker with in a head-to-head in this range. You know who that is? It's Auburn. It's Auburn.
Uh-oh.
They don't hold the tiebreaker with Auburn because Auburn blew them out at Neville Arena. So if Auburn beats Tennessee, Missouri loses. They're both 10-8. And let's say Vanderbilt beats Mississippi State. Well, all of a sudden, Missouri drops from to the 5 all the way down to the 7. So because why? Because that would mean Vanderbilt would move up into that next tier. No, who knows where, but somewhere in that next tier. They'd have a better record, but Auburn would be 10-8. Missouri would be 10-8. Those two teams head to head. Auburn holds the tiebreaker. So there's that scenario. Have we made it to Vanderbilt, Mississippi State yet? Because these are the two that are going to piss you off the most, because they could
we don't even, we're not even ready for that because we've got one more game first. We've got LSU in Florida.
All right. Well, this is simple. LSU win. South Carolina lost to Georgia. Ole Miss lost to Missouri. Oh, of course. Then at that point, you got a full-on 3-15 three-way tie at the bottom of the SEC. And guess who's going to be in pretty good shape in that, I think. Oh, my gosh. This is going to be a lot of fun trying to remember who these teams have beaten. So, actually, if these teams have beaten each
involved,
other,
there's not that many.
Well, right. I know, but they'd all be 3-15, so they'd all be even there.
Right.
So LSU.
Well, Ole Miss, we just went over. Ole Miss has only beaten the bottom portion: South Carolina, Georgia, LSU.
Yeah.
So South Carolina has beaten Kentucky, LSU, and Ole Miss.
What's their record with each other? That's what's important here.
Well, so, we can get to there.
LSU's not going to do well in that because they've only beaten Vanderbilt and Arkansas. They haven't beaten South Carolina and Ole Miss. So, yeah, South Carolina, meanwhile, they are 2-1 against that group. Whew. Ole Miss is also 2-1 against that group. So, that's interesting. Then it goes to the top. Yeah, South Carolina still holds the
tiebreakers. If it's a three-way tie, then South Carolina wins by virtue of winning in Rob. Correct.
By virtue of the best win. Well, yes, because Kentucky's not going to move down further enough behind in Arkansas or someone. So, yeah, that's right. All right, so there's that. We're done with that. Florida wins. They move to 9-9. We talked about that earlier.
Well, wait a minute. There might be one if. Can Vanderbilt finish ahead of Kentucky?
Well, here's what's going to have to happen for that to happen. So I don't think they can. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think they can finish ahead of Kentucky. All right, so let's say, all right, here we go. This is going to be the grand finale. Right. This is like the fireworks grand finale right here. Okay, we'll save this scenario for last. If Vanderbilt meets Mississippi State, okay, this is like comedy hour, but like this is so ridiculous that it's fun. And someone's going to call us out on getting something wrong, folks. If you want to call us out
Yeah.
on getting something wrong, we've just spent 20 minutes breaking down about 73 what if scenarios. Go right ahead. Like
You
we're
could
doing
tell
the
me
best
I
we
got
can here.
something wrong, and I wouldn't even know if I was right at this
You're
point.
right.
To be
I'm
honest.
going to take your word for it if you say we got something wrong. We're trying here. We're giving you a lot of scenarios. We're doing our best to give you some grade A
Need
content
more
here.
caffeine.
All right. If Vanderbilt beats Mississippi State,
Mississippi State.
if Kentucky loses to Arkansas, if Tennessee loses to Auburn, they're all at 11-7. If Missouri beats Ole Miss, they're all at 11-7. Then, Chris, this is the grand finale right here. What happens in the ultimate four-way tiebreaker for third in the SEC? Are you ready for this? Let's go through it. This is the grand finale right
I
here.
want to know. I'm not sure we can figure it out.
I think we can absolutely figure it out. All right. So here's what I need from
Okay.
you. Okay. Let's start in a four-way tiebreaker. Let's start with Kentucky's record against Tennessee, Missouri, and Vanderbilt.
Well, we know Kentucky swept Tennessee.
That's 2 wins.
We know that it went 1-1 against Vanderbilt.
That's 3 wins, 3-1.
And
Lost to Missouri.
Lost to Missouri.
3-2. Okay.
Did not play twice, correct?
Nope. All right.
Okay.
Tennessee's record against Kentucky, Missouri, and Vanderbilt.
Well, we know 0-2 against Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
We know 1-1 against Vanderbilt and 0-1 against Missouri.
Mm-hmm. Not good for Tennessee here.
No.
All right. What is Missouri's record?
So we got Kentucky sitting at 3-2. We've got Tennessee sitting at 1-4. And who's next?
Missouri. Missouri
Okay.
will have
Missouri
beaten
will have
Kentucky
beaten Vandy.
and Vandy
1-0.
and Tennessee.
Kentucky 1-0.
There's your
Penn
tiebreaker.
State always wins.
I told you, Missouri is the ultimate tiebreaker team. So Missouri is locked in at that point in a four-way tie. Missouri is the number 3 seed because they have the
Wait,
best
who was
record.
the fourth team?
It doesn't matter because Missouri's undefeated and Vanderbilt's not. So
Right.
that's it. Yeah, Missouri. I said they're the tiebreaker team here. All they got to do is win, and they're going to be in love with any tiebreaker they're in because these are the teams that they've beaten. They've beaten all the teams around them except for Auburn. So, but that only comes into play if Missouri loses. So, yeah. So Missouri would be the 3 in that scenario. Okay. What's Vanderbilt's record? Vanderbilt is 1-1 against Kentucky.
Okay. Here's what's crazy. This one actually resolves. Missouri would be clear number 1 by virtue of being 3-0.
Number 3. Let's get the seeding.
Yeah. Well, I mean, number 1
Right.
of the 4 teams. Followed by Tennessee at 3-2. No, I'm sorry. Followed by Kentucky at 3-2. Followed by Vanderbilt at 2-3, and Tennessee at 1-4.
How about that? So Tennessee could fall all the way to the 6, which would be wild to think about, but it is possible. So
will the net let that happen? I mean, the net's got Tennessee locked in at 3.
What if Tennessee is 6th in the SEC and 3rd in the net?
3rd in the net.
That's certainly a possibility, I think. So, yeah. So there's the grand finale right there. We did this for 25 minutes to say this. All right. If you're Missouri, win, and you're going to love any tiebreaker scenario you're in with any of the teams around you. Okay. If you lose, you're not going to love the tiebreakers probably that you're in, especially if it's with Auburn with a victory against Tennessee. Kentucky's formula, very easy. Kentucky wins. They're the number 3 seed. Nothing else has to happen. That's it. They're locked in because it doesn't matter what Tennessee does. If you're Tennessee, you're rooting against Kentucky, which, you're used to that at this point. That's not going to be anything groundbreaking. But you root against Kentucky, you win, you're settled. And remember, if Tennessee wins, they automatically lock in a double bye no matter what. Let's keep that in mind too, because they are 11-6. They're a game ahead of all the teams behind them. So Tennessee, again, you're just win the game and you're double bye, whether it's the 3 or the 4. Who cares at that point, probably. I guess if you want to avoid Alabama, you absolutely care. But Tennessee may not because they already beat them. So, Kentucky, like I said, Tennessee, pretty settled. The ultimate wild card team here is very simple, Chris. It's Vanderbilt because they're the one that actually holds better tiebreakers than you would think against some of these teams because they have beaten Kentucky, they have beaten Tennessee, they've beaten Auburn, so which that would only matter if Vanderbilt lost. So Vanderbilt's actually sitting in a pretty good spot. It's just if you're rooting for the double bye, there's a lot that has to happen, I guess, for that to happen. But we just played it out. It's not out of the realm of possibility they can get it. So, anyways, those are the bulk of the scenarios. And I know we lost people about 20 minutes ago, but you knew what you clicked on here, people. Okay, you knew you were getting these ridiculous what if scenarios. But if you have any other questions, if we got something wrong, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt because this was not as hard as I thought it would be. Honestly, it's just like I said. The problem is that it's actually a good thing that Alabama and A&M have no impact on anything because if they did,
Thank
it would just
God.
add so much more chaos. Like it's a good thing those two teams are playing each other with nothing on the line, in terms of SEC tournament seeding. But 3-10, good luck if you're trying to figure out what could happen there because really, I mean, again, some of those teams play each other, some of those teams play the teams at the bottom, and you're playing so many what if scenarios at that point. So, anything else you
Two
have, Chris?
mind-boggling. Well, I'm gonna do one more thing. Two mind-boggling things to me. The just hearing Arkansas as a potential 10 seed still blows my mind.
Yeah.
And hearing Tennessee finishing last in a potential 4-way tiebreaker, despite being the only team that beat Alabama, is a little unexpected too. But anyway,
Yeah. Well,
let's do this quickly.
all right.
I've got all the favorites in front of. I got the projected standings according to Ken Palm. Let's just play it out if favorites win. Which of course, this is SEC basketball and it won't happen. Okay, if favorites went out, Alabama's the clear 1. A&M the clear 2. We already knew that. Tennessee would be the 3. And then you would have Kentucky, Missouri, Vandy in a 3-way tie for the 4 seed, which we've already decided Missouri wins, right?
Yep. Missouri is the ultimate tiebreaker team because they win all those with those teams. Yep.
Okay, so your double buys would be at the top. Alabama and Missouri would be in the same bracket, and A&M and Tennessee would be in the same. Okay, so then your 5 would be at that point you're doing a 2-way tiebreaker between, let's see, between Kentucky and Vandy, which they went head to head.
They split.
Neither beat Alabama, but Kentucky beat A&M.
Correct.
So Kentucky under that scenario would be your 5, which makes Vandy your 6. Your 7 in that case, thank God we get a break here. Auburn would be your standalone 7 because it would not be tied with anybody. Arkansas, Mississippi State, and Florida in a 3-way tie. No, I'm sorry. Oh, no, I stand corrected. Auburn and Arkansas would both be tied if favorites won at 9-9.
Okay.
So where do we go there?
They're in a 2-way tie, correct?
2-way tie.
Yeah. So Auburn beat Arkansas. So
okay, so Auburn does win that one straight up. Arkansas then would be alone, tied with nobody else at that point at 8. Okay, so your top seeds, we got your top 8 decided. Mississippi State, believe it or not, would be standing alone in 9th place. Florida would be alone in 10th at 9-9. That just sounds crazy, doesn't it?
Wait, hold on. Mississippi State's record. Hold on a second. Mississippi State's record would be what?
Oh, you know what? You're right.
Yeah, you got to flip those.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at Ken Palm's projections. They've got it in order of actual standings and not projected. So, no, I'm sorry. We would have a 3-way tie between Arkansas, Auburn, and Florida.
Oh, boy. All right, now hold on.
Oh,
Vanderbilt's
just
6.
Shoot us in this.
Who's 7? We're doing this. We've committed. Are we doing a 3-way tie for 7th? Is that right?
We're doing a 3-way tie for 6th.
I thought
between
Vanderbilt.
Auburn, Arkansas, and Florida.
Where's Vanderbilt?
In Nashville.
No, but where are they in the seed line?
I don't know.
Are they not? Are they not
I
six?
had him locked in at 6.
Okay, so you just said we're doing a three-way tie for 6.
Yeah.
All right, so we're doing a three-way tie for 7. Is that right?
God, I'm so over this.
This is great.
Yes.
This is riveting.
This is not our best moments.
This is our best. People are gonna hate this, and I hope they enjoy it. Three-way tie between who?
I just told you.
All right.
You should listen better.
Executive decision. We're done. Forget the three-way ties.
Auburn, Arkansas, and Florida. Figure it out yourselves.
Oh God.
Georgia would be the 11. Ole Miss and South Carolina be tied at 3 and 15. Who wins that one? It doesn't matter because they play each other anyway. Call one wear the dark jersey and one wear the right jerseys, and LSU you're the 14.
Oh dear.
That's 30.
I don't. At that point, I honestly don't even care. I don't even care.
I don't care either. Just flip a coin.
I'm
Let's
broken.
play paper, scissors, rock.
I don't even care who's seated where at that point. All right, that's it. Please don't unsubscribe.
The best part is when I thought it had all figured out from it, then I realized I was looking in the wrong column.
I could see the wheel spinning, and I knew you were in the wrong spot. Like,
yeah, the hamster was running in place. That was the problem with that.
All right, so if you want, if you actually took notes,
don't leave us a review. Don't tell a friend. You don't hit the like button, but I don't have to tell you that by now.
Oh my God. This is again, if you made it through this entire video, just really think to yourself, you could have been doing something else with your life this last 30 minutes, and we would not blame you one bit. So, all right, that's all I got.
It's almost baseball season.
We're gonna make our picks. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make our picks.
Have you tried to do baseball tiebreakers for baseball? That's just
that'll never happen. No, it's not gonna happen. But we're gonna make our picks. We're gonna do our predictions, and then no, we're not gonna do. Never mind. I was gonna say then we'll sort out the bracket based on who we pick, but we're not doing that. No chance. All right, that's it. If you find anyone else that took 30 minutes to break down these scenarios, please point them in our direction. But I guarantee you're not gonna find it. So that may be a good thing, honestly. But just saying.
All right,
Missouri.
We'll see you later.
Team. Thanks.
We'll see you later sometime with something else when we catch our breath and
usually we say share. Don't
gain
share
our sanity. Don't share this one.
Please don't.
Don't tell anybody. Just forget we existed for a day.
All right, there you go.
All right. If you got this far, thanks for watching. God help you. He's Blake Lovell.